Hello, everybody. Welcome to yet another wonderful episode of Raw Talks with our wonderful guest tonight, which is Rhonda Delaney. She is popularly known as the People Gardener, and she is a wonderful friend of mine, a very, fantastic leader, a podcast host, and she loves gardening. Can't you tell from her name already? And she is here to and her clothes. Yes, she is here to share her story with us about how she loves gardening, what mental and health benefits has she experienced from that process. And she is a wonderful, active grandmother. So she's
Mhm.
here to share us some really good tips on how to be one, how to inspire and connect with the kids at that level where they can really, be joyful in near you. And then also she'll talk to us about firewood pizza. So I am to dig into this conversation. I am joined by Linda and Caren, my dear friends, and Rhonda. Welcome to Raw Talks.
Well, thank you very much. This is going to be fun.
Yes. So, Rhonda, we want to start with the cool things first. So, please tell us a little bit about how you got into gardening and why is it such a therapeutic process for you?
Got into gardening actually as a kid, very reluctantly. I come from a family of four girls, and my dad is probably the greatest woman's libber around, and he felt that his daughters could do anything and should do anything, so outside of the house and inside of the house. And so we were responsible for keeping the garden. And my mom always had beautiful gardens. The yard was something that they took pride in, and so we enjoyed sometimes. A lot of times we didn't, having to pull the weeds and whatnot. And then when we got married, Trev and I got married, the hilarious part is we decided we would have a vegetable garden. My mom and dad never had a vegetable garden. It was just all the flowers and shrubs. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with zucchini, and you really only need one mound, like one zucchini. Well, we had multiple rows. I had nightmares that this zucchini was coming to get us, and so we were in the garden, and then as we got our own places, I found such peace out there. There could be chaos, and it wasn't that we had three little kids. We got married when I was 22, and we had our three children by the time I was 27. The first two were 15 months apart, and the second two were 26 months apart. So we were all young. We all grew up together, kind of thing. And so there's chaos out in the yard, and yet digging in the dirt, there was just this quietness, this peacefulness about it. And the more I learned about the earth itself and the energies that are in the earth, it started to make sense to me why I like digging in it because it was very, very grounding.
Mm.
And then I've just, over the years, I continue to do more and more gardening. And when we moved to the house we're in right now, back in 2001, we basically leveled everything that was here and started from scratch and created our yard, created our garden, our patio, and the outdoor living room, and the wood-fired pizza oven, and created this extension of our home, a place that we could invite people to come and enjoy along with us. And so all through the 15 years I was in corporate was the time we were building the yard, creating the yard. So I spent a lot of time out there. There's lots of different stresses and whatnot at work, but it is a place that when I go out there, the shoulders noticeably come down.
Wow.
When you stray, you're up here. And the manual labor is really good. I've determined that there's muscles that I didn't even know I had. Like last Saturday, I was out there all day, and the next day there was this one butt muscle that was just killing me. It's like, what motion was I doing that caused me to engage that particular muscle? But it always feels good, even though it's sore. It feels good, and so it's. I think part of it too is it's the work part of it, but it's also creating a sanctuary, creating a place that is inviting and restful. One of the things that we did is we put in a rock bubbler. And so we can sit out there for breakfast, you know, and you've got the rock bubbler going and the birds are chirping and there's just this quiet calm. It's a very beautiful way to kind of ease into your day. So yeah, and you know what? I fly by the seat of my pants most of the time when it comes to plants and flowers. I am not so into it that I know every Latin name. I couldn't care less. I like it. I like the color it is. I like the foliage. It's going to be the right size, and so yeah, I'm going to put it in there. But you learn really quickly that you'll probably move it. It's okay to move it somewhere else because you didn't put it in the right spot and it needs something different than what you've given it. And that's part of how I came to use the garden as the tool, the tenets of gardening for my leadership and for leading my team at the company that I was at. Because there's so many lessons that are relevant to just human relationships.
Yeah, that's just beautiful to hear. We could see, you know, how it lightens you up. It is like that, like right now also on your face, just as you talk about it, you know, you are feeling the joy. So it's very, very obvious. And I thought you touched upon a couple really, really beautiful points. One was, you know, how the process of gardening helps you stay grounded, very close to earth. You know, it's really, it connects you with nature like nothing else. Like when you're actually touching it, you are in it. It definitely has a lot of mental like benefits, right? I'm sure, especially when you were in corporate, like the stresses of corporate are a different beast to deal with. But this process was therapeutic for you. Like, could you give us an example of sometimes when, you know, this process really helped, like gardening, sitting, spending time in the garden, or being with your flowers and your plants really helped take away the stress from you?
Yeah. Well, my husband Trev, he laughs at me because one of my favorite things is watering. I go around the patio and I'm watering. I find that very restful. It drives him nuts. He doesn't want to have to be able to do that because for him it's a waste of time. You know, put some irrigation in there. And I go, but then it ruins everything. You got all these black lines of tubing all over the place, and it just messes with the aesthetics, right? It wouldn't be the same. But that's something that I did, you know, May through October, coming home from work. I would go outside and I would be an hour and I would just relax. And something interesting about gardening, and when you talk to your plants, they do respond because they feed off the carbon dioxide that's coming out in your breath. And so Trev, he loves to tease me because we'd go away and I'd come back and I wouldn't even unpack. I wouldn't do anything. And I would go out and walk in the garden. And he would say, okay, so did you have a good conversation with your plants? And I go, yeah, I did. But there is truth to plants being happy when you talk to them because it's the carbon dioxide. Yeah.
So I actually, it's funny you say that because so many times because I'm in the health and wellness industry, and so often we've said to teammates, and I've even said to myself about, and I've used the analogy so many times about watering the plants and talking to the plants, and that whole analogy. I'm sure you've heard of it a million times, but like, so when you said that, that's why my face like lit up the way it did, because I was like, oh my god, somebody's actually validating something that like. But I'm very curious, and I get. First of all, I love how Trev understands. Like, there's some understanding with your husband about that whole, about how you are with the gardening and everything. I love that there's respect. That was like he had respect that this is what you do, and you
Yeah.
do your thing. I mean, he asked you how conversation was with your plants. I love that so much.
Well, you know what? He does the grounding thing himself too, but he takes off his shoes and socks and he walks on the earth. He walks around the property. So we're very connected in that we both get that ground. We just happen to get it in different ways.
So the wood oven pizza, we're gonna have to discuss it later. I'm from Brooklyn, so Brooklyn's all about the pizza. But do your kids have did any of them get the love of gardening like you guys have it?
Two of them, the two older, and they're probably about similar stage. Our oldest is 38, and I mean she's kind of doing the major construction forming of the garden, and then the one that's 37, she has created outside. She's created this nice environment. But I would say if she had to choose, she'd be more creating the environment inside the house than outside. But she's got plants in the inside of the house too. Yeah.
Are people receptive? So when you go to them and you're talking about, because even reading in LinkedIn about caring and the gardening and things like that, have you been met with skepticism at all?
No, I wouldn't say I've been met with skepticism. My whole philosophy is simplicity.
Okay.
Right. And being interested. You have to choose to be interested before you can get to that place of caring. Being interested is a prerequisite to getting to that place of caring. And if you're going to be an effective leader, you absolutely have to care. And okay, so now I have to be interested. And so for me as a gardener, if I am going to successfully nurture the plants that are in my garden, I have to be interested in what it is that they need in order to thrive. Right? So it's a requirement that I be interested. So yeah, I haven't had anyone. I mean, there's a lot of times I'm talking about gardening, but people wouldn't necessarily know that it's come from that gardening. Something that I share with people often is that a gardener absolutely understands that if a plant is not thriving, it's a gardener's fault. It's not the plant's fault. The gardener has not been interested enough, has not been paying enough attention, has not been doing the things that were needing to be done in order to give the plant what it needs to grow. And I believe that is exactly the same when it comes to human leadership. And then the other thing that became really, really clear to me, when you go into the store and you buy those seed packets, let's pick a sunflower, right? You see the sunflower on the outside of it, and you take that packet home, you open it, and you put the seed in the ground. A gardener has zero expectation that a rose is going to grow. It's the sunflower. The sunflower cannot become a rose. It doesn't have it in it to do that. And yet so much of society is expecting people to be other than who they are, innately are. And it causes all sorts of problems and stresses and strains. So yeah, on the whole, yeah, people have been very, very receptive. I mean, I don't get into any complex scientific soil analysis, and all that kind of stuff. It's just more, the beauty of the garden is the diversity of plants, of sizes, of shapes, of colors, all the rest of it. That's what makes a garden spectacular, makes it inviting, is when you can create this beautiful, cohesive feeling between everything that's there. So that's the same with teams of people.
So Rhonda, you brought back some memories in a couple of different areas to me. The first one that came to me was that whole, you said you weren't perfect about what you were doing. And my husband does the gardening. I don't do anything with it. It's his thing because he's good at it. Well, one year he couldn't be around to plant the corn. So he said, well, you take some string and you make the rows, and then you have to go so many inches and put it all in. Well, about half the rows, I did his method. And then after a while, like, you know what? I can eyeball this. Let's just throw away the string. Let's not worry about how we're putting them perfectly in these spots. Came out beautiful, grew nice, didn't matter. So I was thinking about that. But the other thing that I was thinking about is how you tied this all into leadership and community and bringing people together. Well, the United Way Foundation has a day of caring. And what they do is they have local businesses that need help. They invite people in that are volunteers to come in and learn about where an organization might need help. Well, one year I have a small team of about 7 people, and I think I had just about everybody decide that they would come in and do the volunteer work. And guess where we were assigned? We were assigned grub. So it's a community garden where they teach people how to build gardens that are like above ground.
Right.
That's one thing. And then just how to do it in general. And what I noticed was how we all knew that we were going to be giving service and volunteering, but what it did to the team was it brought them closer together. We were there for a common purpose, to give back and do something different than work. And it was just a fun, enriching day of service. And I'm disappointed that we haven't been able to do it because of COVID, because my staff really loved doing this. And I thought that was going to become a thing that we could do every year. So I'm actually looking forward to things opening back up again so we can do some things like that, because, leadership is about bringing people together for a common goal and to give back. And so you just reminded me of that today in both of those stories that you were telling. So I appreciate you bringing that to us tonight.
Oh, well, you're welcome. Something that I got involved with last year is a, what would you call it? Well, it's a project. It's called the Growing Kindness Project. And it's a young mother of 4 little boys in Conway. So not like 45 minutes south of me here. And what it is she has created this nonprofit, and it is people all over the world that are growing flowers in their garden, in a pot, on their sidewalk, whatever they have. Her thing is, I mean, it's some famous person's quote, can't remember the name, is it's basically, what you've got is enough. You just work with what you've got, and what you have, and that's perfect. So if it's one container and you grow 6 or 7 plants in it and you get 1 bouquet, perfect. But what we're doing is we're going out into our communities and giving bouquets and floral arrangements to the community. So it could be the old folks home, it could be the hospital, it could be the bank, it could be, a local restaurant. I took one into our favorite Thai restaurant. And it's interesting. I realized that doing this, I think, feeds me more than them. But when you see the response, I mean, you give somebody a bouquet of flowers and it's an instant light up of their face, and there's a conversation, and there's this happiness that goes. So I get what you're talking, Linda, as far as the giving and being part of something in the community. But I'm having a lot of fun. Trevor, he likes to tease me because I am fairly, go big or go home. That's what his thing is. So, so on Saturday, I planted 43 dahlia tubers, and I've got all these other plants that are coming. But it's because of this growing kindness project. I want to have flowers. This is going to be fun. And it's his thing is like, what's wrong with 10? I go, well, I've got the space. I should just.
How big is the space? My question.
Yeah,
you just tell me you're making a bigger impact.
Yeah, I go through all of these catalogs and it's like, ooh, I like that color. Oh, I need that one. And before I forgot, I would have boxes arriving with tubers. Oh, I forgot I ordered those. And all of a sudden you're at this big number, but it's all good.
Can I ask about switching the subject for just a second before I don't want to get the wood burning.
Yes.
The wood burning oven. Do you make your own pieces? Like
yes, yeah. So 3 years ago this summer, in a conversation out on the patio, and it was kind of like it was going to build a shed or a pizza oven, and we decided on the pizza oven. So Trevor found a masonry kit. It's from Italy. We bought it out of California, and we created this whole pizza oven, freestanding building kind of thing on our patio on the food end of the patio. And last year, it was so cool. We started community pizza. So every Tuesday night, people would bring their own toppings. I would look after the dough and the sauce, and they would bring their toppings. So our neighbors that are around us. And so they would do their thing. Sometimes they stayed, sometimes they didn't, but we were outside, so it was fine as far as COVID. But it was such a neat, everybody looked forward to it, right? Because it's like, another human being, yay. And you look forward just to the interaction and talking with other people.
And I think it lends to the gardening and the taking care of people and the leadership. It kind of all ties in a little bit. I mean, we just did it here. My friend did it was a pizza making night here. Yeah. And it was first of all, it's fun. Yeah. But not in that, like you're taking care of the dough, you're kneading the dough, and you're putting what toppings do you get upon? What are you going to do? So it's like you're taking care, effort, and love into this pizza, which is similar to what you're doing with the garden, which then lends to what you're doing in terms of leadership. So it all ties in.
Yeah. There's no question. No question that I love. Yeah, I love to serve. I love to be a hostess. When I was a sales manager, twice a year, I had my team here, and it's full on. I spent the whole day at home baking and cooking and setting. I love tablescaping. So the tables were always amazing every year. I find joy. It's kind of joy and relaxation. I love people. I get my energy from people. So that has been one of the biggest challenges of COVID is, not being in person contact. But when it comes to pizza dough, I tried a number of it, and I've landed on one, and it's a dough that takes 3 days. It's a 72-hour ferment. So for our pizza on Tuesday nights, I start making the dough on Saturday, and by Tuesday it's ready to go. We enjoy it. The grandkids absolutely love it. And it's awesome. They come on Tuesdays, and the grandkids get to play together. The moms get to see each other. We get to see everybody, and yeah, we have a lot of fun.
So we all know when we visit Washington, where do we have to park ourselves?
Absolutely. So here's the thing. We do the pizza, but Trev also roasts our own coffee.
Oh,
And we have many people that are trying to convince him that he needs to start making it so that they could buy it from him. It's a blend we found out of a company in California. It's been must been 3 years, 4 years that he's been roasting coffee. So yeah, we're kind of spoiled when it comes to the coffee end of things.
that's wonderful. That's really wonderful. And these small little things, I want to believe that these small things lend and they show up in different aspects of our life, right? Like the caring nature, exactly as Karen and you guys were talking earlier, right? All of this kind of shows up in different places, even at work. Like
Yeah.
the people gardener concept in itself is a combination of two of your loves. One is gardening, the other is people, right? So it is just so beautiful to see that combination and to see the holistic, this light on your face is because of the combination of the both, right? Because now you get to, you don't have to leave one for the other. You get to take all of them together and live a holistic life. And I think that's something that is very, very interesting. And it's beautiful how you've carved it for yourself, because people think that I can only do this or that, but
Right.
you are showing it to us that you could do this and that.
And, yeah.
That's really beautiful, and I want to compliment you on this one quote that you just said, which is just amazing. Is that in a sunflower seed, the
Yes.
gardener is not going to expect
Oh,
a
yeah.
rose. This sensitivity speaks volumes of the kind of leader that you are, Rhonda, which is like extremely emotionally intelligent, because it is so important. It may sound simple, but it is not. And these, this is where it shows that when you actually live what you really believe in and what you understand to be the truth, I think it's very evident in the way you are talking. This was a beautiful example. I think this is something that if leaders understand, half of their stress is gone, half of their team stress is gone, because now they know they are not in the pressure. A sunflower is never in the pressure of becoming a rose, never. It just has to bloom in its own being, right? And that's really very, very important. So I just loved that bit. I was
I
waiting to tell you that.
I will thank you, Falguni, for reading that. I was so focused on the pizza, but like I'm all about being real, being true, being who you are. Like that's who I am. It drives me out of my mind otherwise. But that being said, when you said that, but you also said about society. So you saying about the sunflower never becoming rose, but then you also said leadership and society feels like they. I'm paraphrasing what you said, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like people, it should be something that they're not, or they try to make somebody into. And believe me, I've done that, so I get that, and I have 2 kids, so I can sort of relate in that respect too. And I think you hit the nail on the head with that one as well, because people are expecting people to be different than what they are, or to do things in a certain way, and or people don't see from another point of view or something like that. And something I always tell, like my family, for example, I'm like, you don't, because I get a lot, I have a 19-year-old and a 15-year-old, so it's like hilarious because teenagers are phenomenal. One's not even here, but my point being, I don't see what the big deal is. Like they'll say like something like that, and I'm like, you don't have to, but just see where I'm coming from, like see my point of view. You don't have to agree. And I think I was just talking to someone earlier who was working in corporate too, and he was saying like the leadership doesn't care. All they see is dollar signs. And finally, the chief marketing officer saw that his workers were like just done. Like they were working really hard, and it was crazy. And he fought to get like them days off with like just unplugging, and but I'm like, he had to fight for this. So to your point, like about making people that people are not seeing things from other people's perspectives, or just saying, you know what, this is what I want them to do, but and maybe lay it out in a way, even if they get to that end result, It doesn't have to be the way somebody wants it to be done per se. It could be at least they get to the same end result. So I love that you were saying that about, and I love how you recognize that. So you take that and lend it to the leadership. So now you can talk to people about it and they can say, oh, wait a minute, that makes sense. And they can now change. So you're basically changing the world in a small way also, because you're making people you're showing people not only just caring and cultivating, but seeing things for what they are, for what they truly are, which is a really important part, I think, too.
Yeah. Well, and also to understand that it's okay not be to like every flower,
Mm.
right? I have ones that I absolutely love, and others, I can give her, leave them or take them. But I still appreciate the amazingness of those flowers,
Right.
Mm.
but I wouldn't necessarily put them in a bouquet, right?
Right.
And I think what happens with people is they're threatened by different, and they stop looking and being interested in finding out about different and trying to find the things to appreciate about because it's the different that creates the interest
Mm,
in a garden. If you had all of the same plant everywhere, it would be an incredibly boring thing, right? You need those loud plants and you need those small little ones and you need the ones that get really big and you need the ones that, stay in their lane. We need them all, right? To create this amazing garden. And it's the same with teams of people. Like embrace the differences and also accept that you're not always going to like the differences, but that doesn't mean you need to say anything about them, right?
right.
You can just accept that it's different. You don't have to try and change the person, to be something else, because that's not fair to them.
Yeah,
So
acceptance is key. That is the fundamental thing. Like that's step number one. Once you accept somebody, only then can you help them thrive. Can you even inspire them to change, if at all that is the case. In a leadership situation.
yeah.
But I think accepting is number one. Like it is so important. So yeah, very
Yeah.
very yeah, beautiful words. I want to ask how.
Back to the
Say that,
yeah.
Rhonda, please.
Well, I was just going to go back to the pizza. Go back to the pizza part of things, right? You put an anchovy on a pizza, and I won't even touch it. Somebody else, throw more of them on. I love them. It doesn't mean that the pizza is bad or good. It just happens to be that's what somebody prefers, and that's So anyway, yes. What were you going to ask?
Oh no, I was going to say the same thing. I think it's about acceptance and accepting for who they are. So to your point, and it's okay for us to have different choices, right? And it's really okay for us to have different preferences. To your point, the pizza example that you just
Yeah.
gave, somebody likes something and the others just don't like that. But doesn't mean that that thing in itself is good or bad. It's just that we like it or we don't. Like it's very personal perspective, and that kind of an understanding and that point of view is just a very refreshing. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Oh, you're welcome.
And I was just going to add to that conversation. We know that we want to appreciate differences and that there's more than one perspective, but then there's also that internal thing that we do. Sometimes we think we're too much of something to someone or a group. And so we have to remember that garden, that bouquet, that pizza that we're going to put together. And we can be those differences, and we should feel comfortable being those differences. And we don't have to change who we are, because I think a lot of times we might like, oh, I don't want to be too outspoken, or I don't want to be too bubbly, or I don't want to be too structured, or we're always trying to conform to what society wants, or conform to the situation, or for the group of people that we want to belong to. And really, we should be doing the opposite. We should be that rose or that daisy or that sunflower that we are, and just be a part of that mix and be happy and excited to do that. And you're right. If you hate anchovies and they're all thrown on the pizza, well, then you're just not going to eat that pizza. Same thing comes with people. The right people that want to be surrounded by you are going to flow in. The other ones not so much, and it works for everyone. It's all about, like you said, Falguni, the preferences. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing about a garden that is well designed is that the plants showcase the plant next to them.
Could you elaborate? I'm intrigued by what you just said.
Well, when a garden looks beautiful, when you feel like nothing is sticking out where it shouldn't be, or nothing is overpowering something else, you're choosing plants that are going to be a support to the one next to it. That, you might choose to take a plant that has really deep green or a beautiful burgundy color and put something that is lime green or yellow or bright pink in front of it, because what that bright pink plant does is it shows off that burgundy. It's like, wow, because that frames it. And that burgundy one says, hey, look at this plant, right?
Yeah.
And so, when you're talking about tempering who we are, I think that there's a balance, there's a fine line between knowing your audience, knowing the room, and creating the environment that you are a support to all people that are there. And it's the same with the garden. And when you've got a team of people that are all sitting in the right spot, doing the right work for who they are, they all can support each other, and it becomes this great team.
Yeah.
I think you just defined what a satisfactorily wholesome corporate company organizational culture is, just by that example right there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking literally the exact same thing.
Yeah. It's just beautiful. Yeah, so I want to also now talk about the grandkids, Rhonda. Oh my God. I have seen some amazing pictures of you with the kids, and it just lights up my face each time I see it. You are happy, they are happy. How does all of this work out? And share something about them.
Okay, well, we have 6. We have 3 boys and 3 girls. The oldest is 7, and the youngest is a year and a half.
Oh, nice.
4 of them live here in the US, only about 5 or 6 miles from us. And then the other 2 live in Canada, over on Vancouver Island.
Okay.
Do a lot of FaceTime with those over on Vancouver Island. We've been up there and done our quarantine with them a couple of times over this past year. It's getting down on their level. Trev is so amazing. They all love Papa. He's just the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I think I was trying to figure out, what is it? Because I'm married. We were 39 years in February. I'm married to the quietest Irishman on the planet. You didn't think there was one, but there is. He's a unicorn. He's right here in Ferndale. And I determined what it was is that whenever he is with them, he is down on the floor with them. He's at their level. He plays on the floor. My role is the loud one. My role is chasing them. My role is scaring them. My role is also making them their favorite food when they come. In fact, got a call from our oldest daughter this afternoon. She goes, "Mom, are you at home?" I go, "Yeah." "Well, can you go and pick Logan up? His school is like 3 or 4 miles from us here." because his dad hadn't. Anyway, he was sitting there at the office and nobody had come to pick him up. So I said, yeah. So we get in the house and here's this little voice behind me as we're walking in. Waffle, 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 waffle. And I turned and looked at him. I said, you want waffles? Waffles, waffles. And I said, well, how do you ask for them anyway? So he is pleased. But every time he comes here, that's the expectation, is that Amma, that's what they call me, will have waffles.
Oh.
And we do lots of sleepovers. You know, the kids, they'll call and they want to come for a sleepover. Okay, great. But just a lot of family time. And that's something that I grew up with. My dad's siblings, my cousins, we were together every week. You know, Friday night we would play volleyball, or we would go to the beach, or we all vacationed together for a few weeks in the summer, that kind of thing. So it's very normal for me to have this revolving door of family around. I am completely open to drop in, spur of the moment. I mean, I get a call from Tara, the one that lives just east of us 5 miles, and she goes, "We're coming for supper. I've got to get out of this house." And she's got the 2 kids. I mean, our role this past year has basically been scraping the older 2 girls off the ceiling because they've had to be the mom, the school mom, the teacher mom, and it's been horrible. And so, you know, they'll call, we're dropping the kids off. Okay, yeah, fine. I mean, we're on a few acres. The kids can play and roam. So it's just being open and loving these little beings for who they are. They're all very different. And it's fun to watch them grow. I have to give special recognition to my older sister, Cheryl. She's a teacher. Well, she's retired now, but she taught kindergarten and grade 1. And I used to watch her awe and reverence for these little beings, as she called them. And they could be just little stinkers and all sorts of problems, but she still thought they were the greatest thing they were around. And each one of them, she loved every single one of them because of who they were and how they operated. And I think part of how I've evolved in my leadership and what I see is definitely been influenced by how she talked about the little people that she taught.
I think the kids pick up on that energy, the loving energy. So it's just so beautiful to see. I could relate so many things. Like I have grown up with my grandmother, my cousins, and all of us. So I can completely relate with the family vacations and all of that together. It was the most precious time of my life. Like to date, my grandmothers, both side, maternal as well as paternal side, are no more. But I have beautiful memories with them. Like my life would have been totally different if not for them. They're just amazing and beautiful role models for me. And I always had this dream of my mom being that for the kids, which is beautiful because my mom is in India. So for me to have that long distance relationship and for the kids to understand that bond and all that is so super important. And they do. And exactly when you said waffles, my kids have a particular Indian dish that they like. So as soon as my mom comes, Nani, you're going to make this for me, right? It is just that beautiful bond. And my grandmothers never get tired of anything their grandkids want, like never. At 2 a.m. also she will be ready to make their favorite dish and not, break a sweat. That's beautiful. The other thing that I really liked was that the kids actually pick up on the energies, as you were saying. So, to have somebody like you around them that is joyful, that is caring, that is cultivating. I mean, I'm sure you are, teaching them good things from this tender age where they are picking up, and by action, by showing them who you truly are, like, living that out, I think that is just beautiful. And that's the best way you can teach the kids, no?
I can if I could just say to your point, Falguni,
Yeah.
because mine's not, so my oldest is 19, and so like my mom treats my kids good, but like in the same way she kind of treat me. Whereas my in-laws, like my mother-in-law, like she has 4 grandchildren, 2 boys. We have 2 kids, and my sister-in-law has 2 kids, and like literally, it's like the best thing since like you were talking about, like, the best thing since sliced bread. Like literally, like and each one of them, she does this to all 4 of them, and the oldest is 21, so 21, 19, 17. No, sorry, 21, 19, 18, and 15. So that's the age, and each one of them, and every time they go in, it's a sandwich or a Caesar salad, so, not waffles. But like but to your point, even at 19, and she's away at college,
Yeah.
she speaks to my mother-in-law on a consistent, constant basis,
Mm.
because of that she got to her level, but the way she treated her and things like that. And my dad I remember my kids were 9 and 5 when my dad died, but they remember, or at least my daughter does, he would sit on the floor with them, and literally, and even my mother would sit on the floor and read to them. So they recognize that, and they thrive. So to your point, Falguni, your kids are still young, but like I can speak to the fact that, and let's bring it back to the gardening thing. You're watering, you're talking, doing your plants, you're doing all of that, and it blossoms and it continues. And when you continue to do that, it continues to blossom and bloom.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And what a beautiful I want to share this one cute story with you guys, and you will understand the importance of, how kids, they pick up on energies, as I mentioned, and they also pick up on small little mannerisms, specific things that grandparents would do for them that mean the whole world to them, right? So we typically have this habit of sitting on the dining table and eating our food, right? Back home in India, we do the same at our homes. But traditionally, if we were to be really, really traditional, we would sit on the ground, and we would spread like a small little blanket, sit on the ground, and have the food around us, and we would eat. That would be a typical way to do it. And so one fine day, when we were visiting home, and at that point, my mom was cooking something, and she had spread the whole thing around on the dining table and stuff. She was not expecting us, so she was just doing all this to pack for us when we were returning here. So she had everything spread around. So there was no room on the dining table to sit. So we laid everything down. My kids are like, this is a treat, just small little gesture. And I was looking in at awe with, my parents, and both of my parents and the kids were sitting there, and as if this is like a big treat, and all the food is at one hand distance. And it was just so beautiful. So small gestures like these stuff, they have fond memory of that. To date, they remember it. They rejoice that whole moment, and they're like, can we eat like that when they come? Now they have built correlation, so grandma is equal to waffles, like is equal to fun, they have
Yeah.
these correlations that really, really play a fundamental role in their growth subconsciously. It is just there. And I think
I
that
have I have a memory of my mom's mom and dad. They would come and stay at our house when my mom and dad went away on business trips.
Mhm.
And my grandma, uh, she was always worried about getting us off to school. So she would set the breakfast dishes, she would set the breakfast table after supper before we went to bed. We used to tease her,
Wow.
but very, very fond memories.
Mm.
They were with us for a week, 2 weeks, right? And they were older when they had my mom. So, but then the other thing that we always got to do when they came over is roast marshmallows and hot dogs in the fireplace in the living room. And that was, it only happened when Grandma and Grandpa Bose came. We never got to do it when
Mm.
Mom and Dad were home. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh.
Love that.
Wow, we could continue on and on. This is a wonderful, wonderful discussion, and thank you so much. This has been great. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, we look forward to implementing some of the things that we have learned from you, Rhonda, today. Especially me, I just loved the whole acceptance bit. We can do more of it. We are already doing a lot, but Thank
It's on the top of my stack.
I love it. Thank you so much. I was particularly interested in your point of view and your thoughts on the book because I talk about blossoming. I talk about, literally living, and you are the people gardener. So I really, the word blossom better
Yep.
than most. So thank you so much for being so gracious and kind. And thank you for sharing all these wonderful things. I loved the fact that when you talk to plants, they love it, they respond back. I am going to do that, and I promise I'm going to do that every day because I do have plans, and I talk but at a distance. I didn't know this beautiful relationship. I will do that. I have many tree hugging photos because I love to do those. I love to hug it. Every time I go on a hike, I do it. I like walking on the ground. That is like
Yeah.
very, very grounding for me.
Good for you.
Yeah, I love that a lot. But talking thing, I'm going to add to that. I am definitely going to talk to my plans and befriend them for sure.
Good.
Yes, yeah.
Well,
Linda,
it's been delightful. I've appreciated it on
yes,
your insights as well.
yeah. Thank you so much, Linda. Caren, any thoughts you guys would like to share?
This was just, I loved it. I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed. Very insightful. Very,
Linda and Caren, are you both on LinkedIn?
I just
Yes.
sent you a connection request before.
You
I will connect with you, Rhonda.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Yes,
Wonderful. Okay, well, enjoy the rest of your evening.
yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very
You
much.
too.
And, yeah. Talk to you guys again
Bye,
soon.
guys.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Oh, wow.